Hey, Tom, have you been seeing what Donald Trump's doing with this Rule 34 stuff at all?
Tom, I'm going to date Tom immediately with this. He walked up to me earlier today and showed me this thing and then asked me if I knew what Rule 34 was. Bro, listen, you don't even know, buddy. It's like first day on the internet, you know what I mean? That's like Rule 34. I was going to say Rule 1, but it is, in fact, Rule 34.
I was back
First
on
day
it.
on the internet.
I was back on it when it was Rule 32.
You wouldn't get it.
I get it.
You wouldn't get it. You were born in were you born before or after we dropped the bomb in Japan?
Suckers. Suckers.
Now, friends, these books are free.
Suckers.
Paid for by real Americans who want others to know the truth.
Suckers.
But I'm an American. Some of the things I see in this country of ours make my blood boil.
Suckers.
What's going to become of us real Americans?
Suckers.
Real Americans.
Suckers.
Real Americans.
Suckers.
Real Americans.
Suckers.
Remember that when you hear this kind of talk, somebody is going to get something out of it, and it isn't going to be you. So let's not be
Suckers.
We got a couple of doozies of episodes. This is for those who don't know, this is our second take of this topic, and it feels like time goes by really quick in between episodes. I think the last time we had like a full episode, was it even the New Year?
It was not.
Yeah,
It would no.
yeah. So it is currently, as of recording, what is it, June 4th
June 4th.
or January 4th? Christ, excuse me.
I'm just repeating it. I don't know what time of year it is most of the time.
It's definitely not June.
It's
January 4th. A lot has happened in the news cycle since we last talked, or last had a full legitimate episode. We had Luigi Mangione.
Yep.
A
man with
popping that CEO.
rock hard abs and a heart of steel
and a
and a heart for the people.
and a really bad back,
And a
or so I'm
terrible
told.
back.
Or so I'm told. What else happened? Syrian government was overthrown.
Oh yeah.
Put in with ended the civil war, which is kind of just came out of nowhere.
Yep.
Um,
Elon Musk. Well, there was a cyber truck that exploded.
Oh yeah.
And it was, I think, some military dude who killed himself, and then it exploded.
Yeah.
Afterwards, or
It was filled with gasoline. It was kind of funny. It's a tragedy, but the circumstances that this guy took are a little funny. He rented the Cybertruck, in a way, a little bit of praxis, considering it's not his own.
right.
It's not his own Cybertruck that he destroyed, but rented a Cybertruck. And then they mapped out the path that he took. He drove from like somewhere in Colorado or something like that to Las Vegas. And people are theorizing that he accidentally punched in the wrong Las Vegas because he drove all the way down to Las Vegas, New Mexico, before rerouting to the right one.
The real,
presumably, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was filled with like fireworks and gasoline or something like that. Just some nonsense, you know.
Which is weird because the dude who did it, I think, worked with explosives in the military, and it's like, how can you not think of anything a little better? But Elon on like Twitter was like, no, like our trucks are built so well. Like if he's gonna pick any truck to blow up, this is the worst one because like it's super strong. So it just, the explosion went straight up. It didn't even hit the windows, and it's like,
dude,
you're
that
turning
shit
this
blew
into an ad.
That shit blew up like Looney Tunes. I don't
Yeah.
know what the fuck you're talking about. That shit went everywhere.
Also with Elon Musk.
Yeah. Oh well, there's a interesting development. If you're in the news cycle, there's been a conspiracy, a somewhat legitimate conspiracy, that this sock puppet account, Adrian Dittman or something
Adrian Dittman.
Dittman
Yeah.
is supposedly him, but I just saw a news article literally earlier today, as a matter of fact, on the way home from work, where it is probably not Elon, and in fact, probably just this lanky German dude who lives in Fiji, who is under the name Adrian Dittman, who just sounds identical to him.
So I literally heard a slip up where they were talking about Elon, and then Adrian Dittman was like, "Yeah, me."
Maybe he was feeling himself. Maybe he was like, man, I could kind of get behind something like this. Like maybe he felt like it's like if if somebody mistook like some guy for being Clark Kent, but he has nothing to do with Clark Kent or Superman. He's just some guy. But he's like, God, you sound a lot like Clark Kent. Are you sure you're not? And then he himself is starting to get into like, well, maybe I am. Maybe I can like kind of, try and take it and spin it. I don't know. Verdict's still in the air. But frankly, a German guy living in Fiji could sound a little bit like a white South African man placating to an American
Elon
audience.
Musk. Personally, I don't.
He did say many things that feel like only Elon could say. But again, this is fresh news, fresh out of the cycle.
He just does a lot of defending of rich people.
Yeah.
Under the
Either way, it's sad. Either way, it's Elon or some guy who's just been dick riding him for like more than a year at this point. Which I don't know which is sadder.
And speaking of dick riding,
is that how we're transitioning?
We're gonna transition into our episode here.
Okay. Yeah. No, yeah, that's a really good segue. Project 2025. That's the talk of the town. Well, in our podcast, that's the talk of the town.
Today.
Today.
On this episode.
On this one.
We've been seeing like we've been talking about, just to open up this podcast, there's been a lot of really crazy shit happening.
Yes.
I mean,
the weeks where decades happen.
It seems like one of those years where centuries happens.
Yeah.
We have people self-immolating. We have people blowing up cars. We have people killing CEOs. There's seems to me a lot of these contradictions of capitalism and just Americanism as a whole are just coming to a head in so many ways, and it's turning very violent, and I think people are starting to get very very upset.
Yes.
And
we're certainly entering the American years of lead, for those who know a little bit about their Italian history. It has been looking quite turbulent, and I think in response, the incoming government is looking to kind of, capitalize a little bit off of that fervor in a, particularly reactionary fervor, which just seems to be nothing but to go around everywhere.
And some of our leading reactionaries, well, they're not really frontmen. I was going to say frontmen, but they are very involved. But they are kind of like the bassist who's off in the corner. He's laying down the groove. Everyone loves the bass on the songs, but the bass is turned away from the crowd and just kind of, it's not moving. He's just jamming.
I don't really play music, but I do. I'm from a family of musicians where shitting on the bassist seems to be like the running joke from generation to generation. So I can certainly. And my dad plays bass too. He's a
Hey,
bass
I'm not
player
shitting
by
on the
tradition.
bassist.
Me neither. I'm just saying
the bassist. Bass finds the bassist. The bassist never finds the bass.
You just can't help yourself, can you?
It's just like, oh, I got some friends. One's a guitarist, one's a drummer, one's a singer. They're like, we need a bassist. It's like,
can't help yourself.
All right, I'll learn bass. But
this ain't about bass.
This is not about bass. This is about the Heritage Foundation,
unfortunately,
and Project 2025.
So I think probably the quickest and easiest way to really get into this, let's talk about what is Project 2025, because I know on the campaign trail of Kamala Harris in particular, fucking did not work, by the way. Wow, that wowie zowie, was that a fucking wet fart. We
wish it was a wet fart.
Yeah, no, exactly. There was a lot of, I think, I don't want to say fear-mongering, because there are certainly, warranted things to be fearful of in something like Project 2025 coming to fruition. But there was a lot of trying to take that and spin it as like, this is going to be the plan of how Trump is going to steal democracy in America. Not like it was ever there. But they've been really taking that and like pushing it as like a just cause of why you should vote Democrat. And unfortunately did not there were many issues with the campaign trail, which run probably the scale of a 4-hour-long episode, but they were really leaning heavy into Project 2025. So what is Project 2025? Just like in a couple sentences, because it certainly is not like, doesn't seem like the thing that they're going to pass day one to inundate like, a new fascist regime or something like that. It seems a little bit more complicated than
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I personally just kind of see it as kind of the end, not the end goal, but definitely one of the forms of the Christian right that it's been a 50-year project for people like Jerry Falwell Sr., way back in the day, to push, anti-abortion type legislation, kind of more conservative free market type policies that really come out of like the Christian right, paleo-conservative movements. Some of these people who are involved in Project 2025 are, neoliberals. Some of them are neocons.
Some of them may even be neo-Nazis. You
Some
never
of
even know.
Well, there are some white supremacists who's at least their groups that they started are definitely involved.
Great.
Which
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Project 2025 just seems to be, to me, it's just a continuation of like the Reagan era, Chicago Chicago school economic type thing.
Right. I think from what I can gather, it kind of felt like the long play. You know what I mean? Like they were always trying to work towards a lot of the things that are listed out in Project 2025. Like they've been trying to work towards pretty much everything within it, at least since like, the 80s. And I think this kind of like fully, doesn't necessarily put like a pin in that and like kind of finish it off, but it is certainly like a step into a much more, I don't want to say fearful government, but certainly they're turning up the heat. They're turning up the heat by putting this into play, and it's
kind of a transition, right? Like because in my opinion, the Democratic Party is like dead.
That shit's gone. That shit's gone.
Yeah, it's over. I mean, at this point, the Democrats have kind of taken on some of like the neocons and neoliberals, like all of them. Some people are going over to did go over to the Kamala campaign. You have people from Reagan's cabinet, and yeah, you have just all sorts of who else was
it was I particularly think of the Cheney, the Cheney endorsement, which now statistics show actually swinged many people in like swing states like Pennsylvania and stuff, swing them in a much less favorable view of Kamala than it ever did like swing them in a favorable view. You know what I mean? I forget the exact numbers, but had they just completely ignored trying to get an endorsement from any of the Cheneys, they probably would have done maybe not a lot better, but at least a little better than they ended up doing. But also, I think in recognizing that the Democratic Party, I think you're right, is that it is going the way of the Whigs, or the progressive parties from like the turn of the 20th century. Like it's just going to become the Democratic Party is increasingly looking like it's going to become a thing of the past, because increasingly they do not listen to their voter base. They just fight kicking and screaming at every suggestion that they offer, to put up like the most lukewarm, just like slap together opponents of right-wing populism. Which, I mean, again, I don't know how you lose to Donald Trump once with Hillary Clinton, but how you lose again. But this time he won the popular vote.
Well, Kamala has never
that's
won.
bad.
Like, Kamala is not
That's
a
bad.
historically popular candidate. Like, it just
She
shows
was
like
horrifically unpopular. Like when they were doing the primaries in 2020, with Pete Buttigieg, her, Bernie, everybody involved. She was like, did she even get one state in the, I don't even think she got one state in the primary. She was she was nothing.
Yeah,
And
I mean, it just shows you that the Democrats, they claim they're the party of democracy, and they claim that they're the ones who are saving democracy from, the Trumpists. And of course, obviously Trump and all them, this is not a defense of Trump, but it is we need to come to terms with the fact that the Democrats are not as democratic as they seem, because they would have not picked Kamala had they been a Democratic party, because they would have asked us.
right.
They would have asked around and gone, is this a good pick? And they didn't.
And I think very emblematic of that is the fact that there wasn't even a primary. It was Joe Biden
Right.
from the jump, and then when he stepped down, it was just automatically picked to be his VP. Which, again, I mean, if that screams to anyone, like, yeah, no, definitely, you're getting a choice in this matter. I promise. Just the other guy, don't pick the other. That was the thing. They never had like a campaign or anything to run on. It boiled down to, I'm not the other guy. And unfortunately, that's not going to cut it, because the other guy actually has things to say. They're all wrong and
bigoted,
and they're all bigoted, and they're all like horrific things. But Jesus Christ, at least he's saying something. You know
at
what
least
I mean?
there's I mean, Trump has denied that he has anything to do with Project 2025, but that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, it's bull.
But at least they have something to put out there, like, here's our plan.
Right. It's the worst, but here it is. And they
yeah.
did not, and the Democrats did not have anything like that. So I think very scary is the fact that they harped really hard on how we should all be fearful, of Project 2025. And that was just not enough to pull out a dub. It
Right.
just didn't work.
Right. And I think Donald Trump, just the Trump movement, the MAGA movement, is an insane conglomeration of just the weirdest parts of American history and culture, to be honest. But when we're thinking about Donald Trump, like we said, the Democrats are kind of taking in the neoliberal, neoconservative kind of crowd. And now the Republican Party under Trump is kind of like moving a little, a lot farther right and just more conspiratorial. I mean, they're a mix of, your Alex Jones. They're a mix of, your Curtis Yarvins. They're the mix of like Heritage Foundation, like Ronald Reagan. You got your Jerry Falwell Sr. kind of influence. Like, there's all these influences that lead up to a Donald Trump. There's QAnon, boiled in there.
Lord.
When we're talking about fascism, right? This is what we're talking about. It's a weird conglomerate soup. It's like a melting pot of the worst things you could think of.
They're weaving a basket.
Right. And they're all things that, they're the
Suck.
people that stormed the Capitol, some of them were Odinists.
Right.
Like, this is when we talked about syncretism a few episodes. This is what we're talking about. I mean, there's people who are Odinists, but then there's people who are like QAnon believers. There are people who are, blatant white supremacists. There are people who aren't blatant white supremacists, but certainly share a Venn diagram with these people.
They're Catholic and Orthodox converts,
right?
and things no, there's a lot in these various really shitty soups that we keep being served.
Right. And the Heritage Foundation has been very integral in conservative politics since the 70s and really got their stride during like the Reagan years. So yeah, I mean, let's start talking about, what is Project 2025?
Project 2025, at least as far as I can discern, it is the plan moving forward with a Trump presidency, like full stop. And they got a lot of really, really bad shit in this that they're working towards, which we will go into much greater depth, I think, in the next episode. But essentially boils down to, here is a clear and concise plan in all facets of government, but also just broadly American culture and society, moving forward. You know what I mean? Because and of course we don't really have the regular people don't really get any input in this sort of thing. It's not a democracy or anything.
And
like
I think
that.
when we're talking about moving forward, in their view, it's more moving forward the more reactionary stances to like the culture wars, like regarding abortion, LGBTQ plus communities. We're talking, the DEI, the anti-DEI type people who they're saying, I mean, I would like to say saying the quiet part loud, but these people are
They're just loud.
Generally loud. They're just saying the loud part loud again in a document that will guide the Trump presidency.
And I think one thing to illustrate is that this is, in a way, it's like, policies and ideas, but it's also just like philosophy moving forward. Like, this is going to have far greater implications even after Trump is out of office, whether willingly or by dying. I didn't do it. I just saying, old age. The guy's old. You know what I mean? He's an old guy. But
the accusations coming.
With Jimmy Carter dying a few days ago, now the two oldest presidents alive are the current one, Joe Biden, and the incoming one, Donald Trump. So that's all I'm gonna say. Whether you think he can make it the full 4 years, I personally don't. But he's had a little bit too much McDonald's over the years. But
who hasn't?
Yeah,
who hasn't?
Yeah, who hasn't?
I mean,
I
I like the 2 for $3.99 deal.
So, yeah, moving forward, this is going to be something that has far greater implications beyond a Trump presidency. This is going to be this isn't going to be like a plan that, every right winger gets like facts, like the second that Inauguration Day comes in. But this is certainly, I think, indicative that like the ruling class in America has this set out. It has no intention of dealing with class politics or anything that would tangibly, change people's lives. But this really, not irrelevant, but to somebody with a brain in their head, very irrelevant shit that doesn't really matter that much, but to a right winger, it matters a great deal because, well, we'll get into it, but
we will be getting a bit more into it.
Policy, philosophy, culture, war, because again, no class war, culture war.
It's all culture war.
It's all kind of boiled together into this project. And when I say it has like a great endorsement of the ruling class and is certainly indicative of the direction that the ruling class wants American society at large to go to, I think we should get into some of the people that funded both this project, and I also did just see an article, actually earlier today, talking about people who who raised money for Trump's inauguration, which included Tim Cook of Apple, Jeff Bezos,
Tim
of-
Apple. Tim Apple. You've done an amazing job.
Tim Apple. Wait, I wonder if I can find it. But yeah, Tim Cook, Jeff Bezos, certainly Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. I'm pretty sure also threw in a couple mil. Just getting the chickens out to roost.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, what are some of the companies that you have? I see a hefty list here.
Well,
In front of you.
yeah. So there are quite a few oil magnates, and just general like large corporations that have backed the Project 2025 dream of the world, which a lot of them get into it because of environmentalism, and they are anti-global warming. We'll talk about one of them, ExxonMobil,
I was gonna say environmentalism and how they hate it,
and how it is,
and how they don't like it.
Yeah.
As far as their business model is concerned.
yeah, it's threatening their way of exploiting labor
And everything.
in everything in the
earth,
world,
the
yeah.
people, the nature,
Yeah. So
the environment.
yeah. Another thing, when I said earlier, MAGA is a big conglomeration of politics, conservative politics, in the last 50 years, really. One of those groups that we're going to talk about more in the podcast is the John Birch Society.
Mhm.
And there's a couple connections we have here in Project 2025. And this is specifically through Harry Lind Bradley,
Mhm.
who was at the original meeting of the John Birch Society.
And again, we'll get into much greater detail as to what the John Birch Society is, and probably a future episode or two.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. But was he a figure that was also prominent in the Heritage Foundation as well, or
Robert Welch or
no?
Harry Lind?
Yeah,
well,
Harry.
Harry Lind Bradley has been a funder of like right-wing causes for a very long time.
Okay.
Through this exact foundation, which is the Lind and Harry Bradley Foundation.
Oh wow.
Which
He's
has been
in
around
in it for the love of the game.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you,
It's been around for a long, long time. He died quite a while ago. So he
Not
also
soon enough.
has.
Whoa, did I say that? Oh man.
Oh.
Oh shit.
But yeah, he's been a part of just like free market conservatism, just conservative social values kind of foundations in the background. I believe someone from that foundation was on the call with Donald Trump where he was like, "Oh, find me votes." Do you remember that call?
I think so. Yeah. Was that during the campaign, or was that like a year ago or something like that?
Oh, this is a while ago. This is before the first.
Oh, it was way.
I'm pretty
back.
sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember that? But
No, I don't remember it if it was that long ago.
there was someone from the Lind and Harry Bradley Foundation on the phone with Donald Trump, and I forget who it was from what state, but just look up Donald Trump, find me votes or something. I don't know. I'm bad at remembering.
Look up a 3-hour compilation of his gaffes. You can't even really call them gaffes
You can't.
at this point.
Yeah.
They're just Trumpisms. you know?
Yeah. So in the same kind of so Harry Lynn Bradley also has the Bradley Impact Fund, and that's just another donor.
The way that he can
advised
shittily
fund.
impact people.
Yeah,
with his shitty money.
Yeah, you'll find if you look more into the funding behind this project, there are different groups that are basically the same group. They're just
It's for tax purposes.
started by the same people. Yeah, probably, right?
Just and by tax purposes, I mean for the purpose of not paying for
Right.
taxes.
Right.
Those kinds of purposes.
So another person we have from the John Birch Society is, the family, the Koch family. Fred
Not Coke like my soda.
Not Coke like my soda or my nose candy. It is Fred Koch, who had Charles and David Koch as sons. And they both have been involved in conservative politics. I think one of them kind of got out of it. Trying to remember which one, but when you see Koch, you should
Not say Koch.
not say Koch, but say, "Oh no." because they
that was
suck.
good.
Fred Koch.
That was a good one.
Yeah. I mean, Koch family is it's a big conglomerate business now. I mean, they started a long time ago in, I think, the 30s, but certainly in the 40s, they helped build like oil refineries for Soviet Russia, but also the Nazis.
Building oil refineries is a famously bloodless industry to be involved in. Virtually no bloodshedding to be had.
None.
Believe it or not.
None.
Yeah.
So, you know, the
Just some
Koch family,
jolly figures in the Koch family.
Yeah, I mean, the Koch family is that the number I found was 88 million to 80 groups since 1997, at least climate change groups. But to me, that seems a little low. But I mean, that's just climate change. I'm sure they've spent millions and millions of other dollars just on like free market, you know.
I was going to say that's probably, I mean, a lot of that is probably just like what's on the books. Like there's probably an even greater amount of money that's just like under the table. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how they operate.
Yeah. And so the foundations associated with Koch are the Claude R. Lamb Charitable Foundation. There is the Charles G. Koch Charitable Foundation, the Charles Koch Institute, and the Cato Institute, which is
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, they're more libertarian leaning, but in my opinion, just having researched a lot of these right-wing groups that are free market, they all kind of claim to be like neoliberal, like just kind of, or classical liberals or whatever it may be. It all just boils down to stay out of the market as a, you know, saying to a government, stay out of the market, you know, don't, you know, really give any workers any sort of rights, like try and just let this thing do its thing, like the whole Adam Smith invisible hand kind of thinking.
A capitalist dream, so to speak, that neoliberal mode of economic function, which they've always been, definitely, at least since Ronald Reagan, been trying to fully swing towards. I mean, to the point where we're probably approaching like a like, you know, techno-feudalist state. Just the idea that there is no government, but there are going to be little corporations that do their own little thing that basically will operate.
They're kingdoms,
little governments, you know. But don't question it. You know, it's don't question that you're being paid in script. Script is going to come back in a big way. So just watch the space, you know.
Yep. That's what Curtis Yarvin wants. And,
is he
Mencius Moldbug, you know.
So Lord.
Yeah, so we have a couple little connections there to the John Birch Society. I've found in my research a lot of things connect to the John Birch Society, and a lot of things connect to William Luther Pierce of the National Alliance. Those seem to be very instrumental figures. But
very briefly, for those who are unaware, what is the John Birch Society at large, at least when it was started?
Now it's not a whole lot.
Yeah, now it's an office across the street from like an Applebee's or something like that in Madison. I don't know. We looked it up one time and it was like looked like they were a credit union almost. Like it looked kind of sad.
It is pretty sad. I mean, the John Birch Society was started by Robert Welch.
Not John Birch.
Very
Birch. Famously had nothing to do with the society.
Yeah, John Birch just died.
Yeah.
And then Robert Welch was like, he was killed by communists.
He was shot down by like the Chinese or something like that.
Yeah, he was the first death by communism in the John Birch Society lore. And
I mean, hell, most people would have started counting the Nazis as, you know, first death of communism. But hey, you know, maybe first American death is what he was going after.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Robert Welch was a candy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he was a candy man.
He made sugar daddies.
He made sugar daddies, yeah, which originally were called Papa Suckers.
definitely a good
Grab
rebrand.
a Papa Sucker, everybody.
I think the rebrand was definitely necessary.
Yeah.
Not to give the right winger business owner credit, but
but the rebrand was solid there.
was
yeah.
probably pretty good.
Yeah. And we are going to be in the future talking about the John Birch Society Blue Book. And essentially, it's a transcript of the first meeting, which was attended by people like Fred Koch, Harry Lynn Bradley, Revelo P. Oliver, which is what's it called when a word is backwards and forwards?
Oh, and
Not
anagram.
Anagram?
Yeah.
It's an anagram. Revelo P. Oliver, who was... He's a
sinister.
Nazi.
He
he's
looks sinister.
Yeah, he's a very fervent anti-Semite that, as we'll talk about in the future, helped inspire groups like the National Alliance and books like the Turner Diaries and so on. So there's a lot that comes from the John Birch Society in the more acceptable conservative society, but also it was a stopping ground for a lot of more extreme neo-Nazi views.
And I think in a similar context that they both push forward ideas that, like, you know, we need to really hunker down on our Christian values, on, you know, the nation, you know, the white folk living within the nation, and, you know, the family, you know, just like a lot of the things that you hear echoed in Project 2025 with, although I'd say Project 20, well, they both try and put on nice language, but
they do.
You know.
I mean, John Birch Society always steered away from using explicit anti-Semitism, but they harbored people in their group
they
who were
loved
anti-Semites.
implicit
Yes.
anti-Semitism.
But a big part of the John Birch Society was conspiratorial views. You know, I looked at it was a book, what's it called?
A book list.
Okay. So I've read I've looked at a book list that was released by the John Birch Society. You could just, you know, a reading list. Yeah, you could contact them and order the book. And, you know, I saw things, you know, that were like the pineal gland, you know, being calcified by the fluoride in the water, like the fluoride conspiracies. Yes. Like, you see a lot of, you know, just libertarian books and, you know, all sorts of stuff.
A bunch of hogwash.
Yeah, but a lot of it is very conspiratorial. And in the future, I do want to talk about that book list a little bit more because there's some interesting stuff. But the conspiratism of the modern Republican Party, I think, is like, you know, I mean, Ronald Reagan, from what I remember, he grew up reading some John Birch Society material. This stuff is very ingrained in conservatism, but it seems to be like
it's in the background.
Yeah, it's like, could you name your great-great-grandfather?
No.
That doesn't mean that's not your great-great-grandfather, just because you can't point to it and go, that's what eventually made me. You know, it's one of those things where I think a lot of modern Republicans couldn't necessarily, they wouldn't remember the John Birch Society, they wouldn't know of them, but certainly their influence is felt. And
I would also say that similar to John Birch Society, the Heritage Foundation is almost certainly crawling with conspiracy, like, everywhere. I mean, you can just hear it in a lot of the rhetoric that they try and push in the very soft-toned language that they use, but crawling with, like, you know, great replacement theory.
Yes.
And the like.
Which has become very mainstream. And we will talk more about Great Replacement, certainly. You know, and it goes hand in hand with white genocide theory, but that's for another day.
Yes.
So to move on, so we got our John Birch Society connection. That'll always happen.
Unfortunately.
Another foundation we have backing them is the Adolf Kors Foundation.
Not a very good start with the first name there.
No,
no. It's kind of fallen out of usage.
Yeah.
And for good reason.
And then the next one is Benito Budweiser.
That's bad. I mean, a good alliteration, but it's bad.
No, just that one's fake, people. Adolf Kors.
That one's not, though.
Yeah, that one's not. That's funded by Adolf Kors, or a long time ago of the Coors
I would
Brewing
hope
Company.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Coors Brewing Company. So if you drink Coors, know that you're giving money to Project
fascist.
2025 to fascists.
Yep.
Which you can never know if your money is actually going to fascists or not anyways in America.
I spend my money comfortably knowing I'm not funding any, they say there's no ethical consumption under capitalism except when I do it.
Except when I
participate in it, I make sure I have virtually no footprint.
No going to Knott's Berry Farms in
Right.
California.
Right.
They were a John Birch Society.
Never went to
The
begin
owner loved the John Birch Society. Anyways, so Coors Brewing Company, we got Castle Rock Foundation, which is formed with the funds from the Adolph Coors Foundation. So again, we have doubling up. ExxonMobil. I wonder where their interests lie regarding climate change and the free market, because
no one can tell.
No one can tell.
It's really up in the air.
Yeah, no one can tell.
Too early to tell.
There's National Christian Charitable Foundation. To me, that sounds a bit like National Socialist, but like National Christian. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's just like
okay, yeah. No,
they're like
so yeah, no.
taking the word and just
heavy
flipping it.
Heavy on the two things that are going to make everything really shitty. That's just kind of like their whole deal.
Double it, give it to the next person.
Exactly.
We have the Leadership Institute, which I found interesting, their wording on their website. And they basically host sessions around the country where they train, quote, freedom fighters, unquote, to, quote, learn how to defeat the radical left.
Okay, I still desperately need to know. This is like in the battle of ideology and not like gunmen, right? Like this is like are they training a paramilitary force, or are they training like debate team? Like what are they doing?
Well, let's look at their website here. The Leadership Institute offers.
And by the way, horrible name. It's incredibly vague. This is definitely looking like they're funding debate team. They're trying to figure out.
I think it's more debate.
Okay,
They're not training terrorists like the School of Americas or something,
right?
or dictators, I should say. But so right off the bat, we got a questionnaire thing here that says, "I want to be a ... student journalist, political candidate,
Oh, wow.
activist."
Okay.
There's more, but it's not loading. So
Tom is very tech savvy. He spends a great deal fiddling around with this Apple laptop
with this,
with very very little success.
They have a youth leadership school. Ooh, I could apply now.
Oh yeah.
Called the Boot Camp of Politics.
Okay, that one is where they're going to train the like paramilitary.
They're
the boot camp.
They're
It's
doing
in
a
the name.
Coney here.
Yeah,
if
in
you
the
don't
name.
remember Coney, so
Yeah, no, that one.
so that's a leadership institute. I think it is more they're
Debate.
training people how to debate points with no facts.
They
backing them
want
up.
someone to go toe to toe, no holds bar with Ben Shapiro and just like kind of dish it out in front of like all the 18-year-olds that are like just walking out of all their 101s, like to back to their dorm.
Right.
They're really trying to just like, I don't know. That era of conservatism was really really sad and really funny, but it's had some pretty deep psychological scars. I feel like
So does every strain of
reverberate.
conservatism.
That's true. Yeah. You got me there.
Every time it's either just like embarrassing, corny, or just cringe, but also extremely terrifying. And that's what gets us into a lot of trouble as like leftists is people. I mean, I think leftists are actually, when I'm talking leftists, I'm talking about socialists, etc.
Right.
But more Democrats, I think, get into that realm of going, oh, funny, Orange Man bad, or Orange Man funny, he's kind of just...
Trump?
Yeah, it's like there are instances of people making fun of Hitler for being like a funny Charlie Chaplin looking kind of guy. And it's like, if you get into that habit of just writing people off because they are ridiculous, you're going to write off The KKK, they're fucking ridiculous. Grand Wizards,
Come
Imperial
on.
Wizards, Cyclops, Grand Cyclops.
Come on, what are we playing? Dungeons and Dragons? Get it over with. Come on.
It's always something fucking stupid.
So yeah, we got the leadership.
We got the Leadership Institute.
Yes.
Walton Family Foundation, the owners of Walmart, were also funders.
I wonder why they would have vested interest, Walmart, like one of the biggest corporations. I mean, I guess like they're going kind of toe to toe with Amazon as far as like just general monopoly on department store everywhere. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Let's move on a little bit to some of the contributors.
Yes. I see a big long list here. If you want to just kind of rapid fire.
My goodness.
Just like kind of spit it like Slim Shady. You know, like.
Wicca Slim Shady.
Oh, okay,
Here we go.
Don't do that.
So there's Center for Immigration Studies. And this is the group specifically who is tied to a white supremacist.
Oh, okay.
And that white supremacist name is John Tanton.
Okay.
He was a eugenicist, and that's all you should have to know about him.
How long ago are we talking? In 86. Okay.
Yeah. So this was formed in 86. Not that long ago.
They're still around. Okay. Okay.
It was formed by Otis Graham and John Tanton. Otis Graham was a quote-unquote historian, but I don't know how you can be
in the same way that Hitler was a historian.
Right,
probably.
exactly, yeah. So Center for Immigration Studies, John Tanton was a white nationalist. He was chairman of U.S. English and Pro-English. Those are both groups. Basically, Pro-English is like, you know, the group that's loudest about just being like, oh, no one should be speaking Spanish or, you know,
I see.
English. It's English language supremacy. It's stupid.
Like, they want it to be the lingua franca of the United States, even though if for all those constitution heads out there, which there seem to be a lot of within the right-wing movement, there is no official language of the United States. Wasn't ever listed out. Just saying. But,
it has never been listed out, no. He's
saying.
also part of this zero population growth, which is interesting. Stabilize world population at a level that can be sustained by Earth's resources.
Okay, so he's one of those. Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah,
basically just like kind of wheedle out. Well, they're worried of overpopulation, but they don't realize that like with the greater, you know, modernizing of society, that generally people stop.
Centralization of society.
Generally, people start to have less and less kids, just like naturally, just because they get to enjoy their own adult lives and find fulfillment outside of having a family. So, you know, kind of a dated, especially if you're like a Christian psycho who that's kind of like your whole thing is like, I can't wait to just have a kid that is exactly like me and is as resentful and spiteful as me. And then I die, and then he wonders like, you know, if he should do the same thing. Yeah, I feel like to somebody like that, kind of facing that is probably a little bit scary. But anyway.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. We got what else we got? We got the Hoover Institution.
Okay. Now Hoover, like the
I believe it is
vacuum?
Hoover. No, Hoover Institute.
Or Herbert Hoover.
I believe it was started by Herbert Hoover. Founder Herbert Hoover.
Famously best president of the United States that didn't launch us into the deepest economic depression of this country's history.
No. Guess what he was into? Being involved with the greatest economic depression in history.
Tariffs? I don't know.
Limited government and free enterprise.
Yeah.
And probably terror.
He was very famous for the tariffs. Yeah.
I think I did read that. All things that are great.
And the dam. Don't forget the dam.
And the
dam.
Damn, son.
Okay.
Damn, son. Where'd you find this one?
Cut his mic.
Don't cut my mic.
Cut his mic.
We also got the Texas Public Policy Foundation. We have the Defense of Freedom Institute. Classical Conversations.
God, you know, reading these names sometimes, I feel like we really missed out on doing like some PPP loan fraud, you know? Like there were some people out there that were like getting the PPP loans like during COVID that were just like making up bullshit companies. I feel like it's so easy to just come up with a name like this.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like the Christians for a more Republican society or something like that. And then
Catholics for freedom.
Catholics for freedom, or
Who wouldn't want to join?
Christians for English, or
Oh,
English
yeah.
for Christians,
Yeah.
or you know,
Yeah.
like
Citizenship for America.
right.
Ins.
Blood
ins.
and soil for Americans.
Oh God, I'm sure there's
something
I'm
like
sure
that.
there's a group out there for that. Some other groups we got: Independent Women's Forum, which these are, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I think these are pretty similar to TERFs.
Oh, okay.
Trans exclusionary,
Radical feminists.
radical feminists.
Yes.
Kind of in that vein, and also very anti just modern feminist. They believe in traditional roles for women.
Which I find people like that labeling themselves as feminists to be hilarious, but also really sad in a certain sense, because it probably has a lot to do with like some kind of self-loathing or something like
Right.
that. But
the way I see it, if you want to have a traditional life
Go
and
for it,
family
man.
life, go for it.
why the fuck I got to do it? You know?
But not everyone wants
Right.
that. You know,
Yeah.
that's the thing, is these people think that just because this is what I want and what I believe, everyone has to do this thing.
Yeah, just listen. Just go marry that fucking ugly guy that you met when you were in high school, and then move into that ridiculous cottage that you bought off of like Amazon that like, you know, you folded out into like some empty plot of land, and make those really grating TikToks where you like cook like Oreos from scratch and feed them to like your 3 kids named like Bart, Fart, and Cart, you know, like just do that. That's okay. You know,
Friend Derek, come get your Oreos.
yeah, something like that. You know, like dude, you can do that. Just don't drag me into it. You know what I mean?
Don't drag us into this.
Or like, yeah,
We got Competitive Enterprise Institute. That's more of a libertarian. I think what we need to gather from looking at a lot of these contributors, the Nixon seminar.
hey, I haven't heard that name in a while.
Right. A lot of this stuff is very free market, very much and a lot of these are backed by corporations, right?
Shockingly.
I find a lot of small business owners or just kind of like middle class people defending a lot of these policies that are pushed by the Heritage Foundation and the right wing conservatives is like, oh, they're trying to help me.
Right.
But no, they're not. Walmart got as big as it is because of Reagan policies. In
essence, these giant corporations got to be as big and giant as they are by fucking over the little people around them. In the
Right.
context of like Walmart, or really any giant chain department store, Amazon, only exists by completely undercutting and underselling, or excuse me, just undercutting, goods and services that are provided at like, more local mom and pop shops and stuff like that. But again, focusing everything away from the class warfare and into only the culture warfare, there's like this disconnect of like to how these things would actually tangibly affect them, because they
Right.
hear no taxes or lower taxes,
Right.
and they think, oh, for me. It's like,
Right.
no,
Which is
not for you.
sometimes true. But the thing is
It's true for 1% of society.
Right, yeah.
If we're talking about America. Very much not true for like the remaining 80%, I would say.
absolutely. Like the workers, what we would call the proletariat, yes, taxes went up.
Right.
For small business owners, I do know people who it went down for.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like it's
incremental.
you know that game like where you're a shark and then you eat small stuff and then you get bigger and now you can eat a little bigger stuff. Like you're always eating things that are smaller than you,
Agario.
and then getting bigger. Or what's the ball with the game? Or
Agario.
the game with the ball.
Agario.
What is that?
exactly what you're talking about. It's like
I was thinking the other one where you go around with a sticky ball and you pick up stuff.
bro. If you're not talking about Agario, not only do I not know what it is, I don't want to fucking hear about it.
Katamari.
Oh, that, yeah. Okay.
Oh, come on. You're the one who showed me that game.
Oh, come on, bro. I don't know what the fuck. Okay, anyway, continue.
It's like
the point.
So it's allowing for larger and larger corporations to start swallowing up smaller like businesses that aren't able to cut prices in the same way because they're not as large. And that there's a whole socialist theory underneath that we can talk about on another episode.
Capital.
They are pushing policies that are good for large corporations. They're pushing policies that are good for the oil and gas industries because they are pushing against climate change theories. ExxonMobil, I'm sure, has put out studies that say, "Oh no, we're actually not causing climate change."
We did an internal investigation and found we did nothing wrong.
If it's a medical company or a oil company or whatever, don't trust the studies that come out from those companies because they are going.
It's like if I crashed my car into your car and then I got out, I was like, I basically didn't really do anything to your car, though. I think you should just let me go.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I think looking at, who's funding this, who's contributing to all of this, it is extremely reactionary groups. I mean, when we think of Nixon, right? Obviously, we think of Watergate, but we should be thinking, Vietnam and Laos and, the way that his relationship with Henry Kissinger just created like the fucking Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen of warfare. These are people who are not looking out for the general person. They are creating these international wars, or at least historically have created international wars that we have to fight in a lot of times. The little person has to fight in. It's just it's insane how a lot of people will look at MAGA and just the Trumpist ecosystem and be like, these are people working for us. It's like, how do you think that? I mean, just look at who's funding. I mean, again, Democrats are being funded by billionaires as well.
Yeah. They don't offer a very good, viable alternative.
No.
Which I think that most people now, especially with the issues, the genocide going on in Gaza, it has fully revealed itself like, oh, okay, they have no intention of doing anything different.
Right.
I think one thing worth noting in the explicit endorsement from the ruling class in America, from the capitalist class in America towards things like Trump and Project 2025 and a broader right-wing swing in society, they rely heavily off of people's immediate reactions to things. It's why they are so incredibly fixated on the culture wars. It's so that they intentionally phrase things that, again, are usually very small, very minute, and really have nothing to do with the greater whole of society, like trans people.
Right.
There's maybe not even 1% of American society.
Yeah, it's very few people.
I mean, they're a minority. You know what I mean? Like they're not a majority, but like Fox News and Republican media, they put like such a giant magnifying glass over those people to where you can't turn on like right-wing media or just, even go on social media in general, where it has been increasingly taken over by right-wingers like Twitter, for example, where they talk about this non-stop, the issues of like trans women participating in like, women's sports, or should, trans women be able to go to women's bathroom and something like things that like trans women have existed for a long fucking time. And they were and still are discriminated against. But in recent time, they have honed hard in on this because they just want you to get angry. They want you to hear a headline. They want you to see something or hear some quick little snippet or something like that and draw ire from it, because then that's what occupies the front part of your brain. That's like you start just seeing red and are like, we got to do something about that. And all the while they're sneaking in all this other shit under the table that the people that are actually funding these projects and these campaigns and whatnot are going to tangentially benefit from. Like, they're going to cash out from at some point. The little people below the voting base, they're thinking they're going to cash out because they hear the things that Trump is saying that is more directed towards the 1% of society.
Right.
But they're thinking, oh, he's talking about me right now. But no, he just wants you to be a little foot soldier. That's all they ever want people to be, are little foot soldiers. But the big fat cats at the top of the food chain, you know, in the actual meeting rooms where they're discussing all of this shit and, you know, drawing it up in the planning board, they're not thinking about the little foot soldiers or how it's going to impact or improve their lives. They're just thinking about their own pockets.
Well, this is exactly when we were talking about, you know, the class analysis of fascism in some of our earlier episodes about how fascism uses kind of this lower middle class, like the the petty bourgeoisie, essentially, to fight the same war against, you know, working class people. But a lot of times that turns into, you know, stoking, you know, transphobia, racism, all these things. They're all kind of conglomerated together. But those things are very useful as a billionaire in stoking the fears of kind of the small business owner to get them to be on your side. And so the small business owner can start punching down. Because a lot of those small business owners know, well, I can easily be in the shoes of someone who's on the street if things don't go my way, or, you know, I could be, I could be just some worker at McDonald's, and they know that. So they are going to do anything they can, and a lot of times just fall victim to this fear mongering in order to punch down, in order to keep themselves up, while at the same time, they're really just helping the billionaires,
and they're screwing themselves. They're looking at the short term, and that's why they're called reactionaries, because they react.
It's very transient,
right? Yeah.
It doesn't exist, you know, over thousands of years. Like, you can't look at it as an ideology that is consistent.
It's literally
ever.
Day to day, sometimes hour to hour.
Right, yeah.
Like it has no consistency or through line other than what am I angry at in this immediate moment.
Right.
I mean, and that's why they're called reactionaries, because they react on impulse. They want you to react on impulse. And in reacting on impulse, they hope that a lot of these foot soldiers, the people that have been inundated through the populism, whether it be the really vile right-wing shit or the very vague like, oh, you'll get like a tax cut or something like this down the road. Like, they just want as much weight behind them as possible, because again, they're doing this shit kind of clandestine, I want to say. Like, they're not like they kind of feel like they are supervillains at times, the way that they draw up these plans. It's, I don't know, it's like they lead people on, like, especially within the more conspiratorial sections of reactionary thought. Like, they lead people on where it's like, oh, well, it's really the Jews that are doing all of this.
Right.
You know, they're controlling all the money. But really, it's just the rich people. It's just them that's doing it.
And I think a lot of the people involved in Project 2025 aren't going to explicitly say the Jews, right?
Right.
They're going to mostly.
Well, they're not going to say. They're going to lean heavy on the immigration, and the things that's going to make the reactionaries immediately react.
Right.
I'd say that's definitely more of a strain of the very conspiratorial global, worrying about the globalist and things of
which
that nature.
But I think they are
red-pilled
connected
audience.
in the way that those globalists or conspiratorial anti-Semites all worried about immigration the same as someone who does not believe in a global cabal of Jewish people.
Right.
You know, so that's where they share that Venn diagram of like they both disagree with this symptom of something, right? And maybe they point to a different cause or whatever. I think a lot of Republicans would go, "Oh, the Democrats are really, are really communists," or
Right.
they're letting immigrants come in here to take your jobs, rather than, well, it's this Jewish conspiracy to bring immigrants in. It's like, how different is that?
Right.
Like,
Not very.
It's not. You're still dehumanizing immigrants.
Right.
Right. So
It's just extra steps.
it's just
with
extra
one of
steps.
them,
Yeah. Like, so a lot of this stuff is a lot more extreme than maybe they put off, in my opinion, just because, they don't point to the Jews being the issue, or, they don't use very explicit language or something. They point to very similar concerns that they have about our country, and it's rooted in nationalism, and it's, rooted in misogyny. It's rooted in just cisgendered supremacy. Like it's all these things combined.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a spectrum,
Right. Right.
I want to just give a brief history of the Heritage Foundation, if we can.
Yeah, certainly.
Because we've talked a bit about, just what concerns us right now, so I want to connect it back to a few moments in history that we can kind of see how they've been consistent in what they've been backing up, and what they probably are going to continue to do. So Heritage Foundation was founded in 1973 by Paul Weyrich, Edwin Follner, and Joseph Coors. Again, Joseph Coors, I think, is the grandson of Adolf Coors, who has that
He's
a
a
that
repeat
is
customer of the
yeah,
Coors family. Huh?
yeah. And so are a lot of people to their beers. You could pound a pack of Coors without feeling anything. It's like water.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It just tastes like you're drinking somebody's piss.
Yeah.
Dick,
I wish I was drinking piss. Can
Can somebody clip that and post it, and
Yeah,
also
just-
with Tom's entire legal name and address
in
everywhere?
social,
In
yeah.
social,
in
and fax it to him.
So this was in 1973. They found the Heritage Foundation. By 1981, they're already starting to work with the Reagan administration and coming up with proposals. And they had a similar document called the Mandate for Leadership. And among about 2,000 proposals, around 60% of them were implemented by Reagan.
Oy,
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah, that's not good. And
It's
this
not
is
good.
Reagan, and as we'll talk about, Reagan completely. I mean, he's the one who said "Make America Great Again" first. Trump totally took that term and used it himself. I mean,
Prayed, everyone forgot about it, and he was right.
Right.
They
They did
everyone
not.
forgot.
Yeah. I believe Bill Clinton also used "Make America Great Again." We'll
Right.
talk more about that. But so I think there is a pretty clear connection between Reagan and Trump, as far as policy, as far as both of them having been entertainers, before jumping into politics, both being very anti-communist, being anti-labor, both being extremely rich.
I
mean,
will say, I feel like Trump, that's the thing. Like, increasingly, like, yeah, there's a lot of worry about like a Trump presidency, and I've heard the sentiment, and I feel like 2016, like his first term, really proved this. I mean, we are rightful to be worried about all of these things that they're going to try and push in Project 2025, but Trump is not after some greater project. Like, people are touting him like he's going to be the American Augustus,
oh my
or he's
God.
going to be, or like the American
Enough.
Julius Caesar,
Enough.
or something ridiculous like that, where it's like, no, dude, he's like a Queenie New Yorker who like just happened to fucking like somehow stumble his way into the presidency because he won the most losable campaign like 8 years ago, and we all still have to keep or 9 years ago now, Jesus. And we all have to keep hearing his fucking name as a result of it. Like he looks after Trump. Trump looks after Trump. Trump does not give a fuck about anyone even in the same room as him, or even within the same familial unit as him.
Well, I think this is exactly why I think talking about people behind Trump is important, because I do believe Trump is out for Trump. He's a narcissist. I mean, obviously we can't diagnose him
he's
with
old.
being a narcissist.
He's old, so if he's not a narcissist, he's also probably going to become pretty senile in the coming years. So increasing worries of some people playing him like a marionette.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I think we need to start kind of pulling back the layers of this Trump onion and understand that Trump is not the final goal. He's just the skin of the onion.
Right.
And the more you keep cutting it, the more you're going to cry.
Who's at the center of the Trump onion, would you say?
Who's at the center of the Trump onion? Wow. Do you have ideas? I mean,
Vivek Ramaswamy.
I feel like he is one.
No.
I don't know.
Nikki Haley.
Well, they are terrible faces for the movement. I'll give them that. But in a weird way,
Andrew Yang. No, I'm just
I feel like Tucker Carlson. Is unfortunately, like, he is weirdly like the center of a lot of things. Like, just Fox News is one of the most watched programs in America, and I think maybe the most watched program. And Tucker Carlson was the babyface assassin at the head of it. You know, he was pushing the, kind of great replacement theory for a long time on the program. And a lot of white supremacists, like, I'm trying to think of his name. He was a New Hampshire libertarian turned into a Nazi, Christopher Cantwell.
Oh, right.
So, he's someone who, when Christopher Cantwell was in jail and stuff, like, him and other white supremacists would watch Tucker's show. And they would be like, this guy is a bit more extreme than maybe what he puts off. So I think he's one of the cores of the onion. I mean, there's a lot of cores. That's what we're trying to get at, is there is no one leader of this movement. I mean, you got Milton Friedman as, kind of the economic core of that, free.
Oh, I saw something funny where Trump is appointing I forget which one, but I'm pretty sure it's a Rothschild family member as like some department of like treasure or something like that. I remember just seeing all of the incredibly anti-Semitic right wingers get just seeing nothing but red. It's like, but our Trump, what are you doing, man? Yeah. This isn't red pill.
Right, I know.
Anyway,
they're constantly disappointed by Trump because he's too bigoted for Donald Trump. But Donald, I don't know. It's a whole thing.
They're remembering that he's actually not the Augustus Caesar of the American century or anything.
Like he's not the next Führer per se,
He's just some like old fuck who's his heart has to be pretty caked from all those fucking McDonald's at this point. Anyway, sorry.
So
kind of
mandate for leadership. We
big segue.
Big segue. But back to the mandate for leadership. Like I said, there were about 2,000 proposals. About 60% of them were implemented by Reagan. And there's certainly a connection between Reagan and Donald Trump, at least, especially the people kind of behind Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump. But I think in some ways, Trump did take some hints from Ronald Reagan and push some things forward that Ronald Reagan started. And, they were instrumental in developing the Reagan Doctrine, which, was kind of their anti-communist military strategy. And just
an extension, I'd say, of the already existing like Truman Doctrine.
Right. Yeah.
I think Eisenhower probably had a doctrine.
Really,
every president has had some doctrine where it's like, we love NATO and we hate these damn commies.
Right.
Know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan definitely had a lot of anti-communist tendencies, and now we hear Donald Trump talking about how, Kamala is a communist and how they're going to kick Marxists out and all this stuff. They would later be in regarding the Reagan Doctrine, the Reagan Doctrine was also very instrumental in Afghanistan, Angola, Cambodia, Nicaragua, just to name a few.
All famously no issues brought about by the United States
None.
in those regions.
None.
Definitely no kind of blowback, particularly in Afghanistan. But,
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. They would later be influential in the George H.W. Bush presidency with their proposals in the Mandate for Leadership 3, which I assume there was a 2
I hated
somewhere.
that movie. That one was awful.
They're doing a whole
Just was not as good as the other two.
whole Star Wars thing. They're out of order. You know, they're doing Mandate for Leadership 1 and then Mandate for Leadership 3.
God, and then the fourth one didn't make any sense because that was a prequel of 2.
And so
I don't know.
They really got to come out with 2 soon. But during Clinton's administration, later on, they would publish a culture war book, is how I describe it. But it's basically the index of leading cultural indicators. And they focus on things like teen pregnancies, suicide rates, and violent crime to just point to things that they see as immoral. Obviously, something like teen pregnancy and suicide rates, violent crime, these are all things we need to think about. And I think we need to really burrow down and figure out what the roots of these things are rather than take the reactionary stance, which I believe this book would do. I didn't find this book, but I'm not going to buy it. Or I did find it, but I couldn't find it for free, and I'm not going to buy it. So I don't know exactly what's in it, but I would assume a lot of it's just very reactionary.
I will say a lot of those societal ills like teen pregnancy, suicide rates, and things of that nature, those are certainly things that any administration that cares for its own people ought to be looking at, but definitely whatever tinge that they were looking to put on that. If, again, they're all related to class, and if anyone tries to tell you otherwise, they're just dead wrong. So, and I'm like 100% sure class is like not brought up
non-existent
at any point.
Yeah,
in any of those.
I would assume it has a lot to do with liberalism.
There's no Jesus.
There's no Jesus. It's all this. That's why I called it a culture war book. Right. I mean, they're pointing out these leading cultural indicators that show you that something's wrong in America and something needs to be done. And it's during Clinton's administration, Democrat in presidency, and of course they're just going to be going off the rails. In 1995, they published its first Index of Economic Freedom, which essentially assesses, economic freedom in every country. They relate economic freedom to social freedom, and in my opinion, that is a complete false.
I was gonna say that's bullshit.
Equivalency.
Bro.
I mean,
here's your freedom graph. Oh no, Cuba failed the freedom graph today. God, now they got to stay behind after class. Shit.
Right. I'm sure when America, got rid of slavery, the economic freedom graph went down. Because that's the type of thing.
Because the slave owners, they lost so much private property.
They lost the freedom to own slaves. They lost the freedom to put the boot on your neck. They lost the freedom to do, it's always, it's the freedom to
exploit.
Yeah. And so when a country like Cuba does not allow that, and they go, that's not freedom. It's like, well, how many percent of them own their houses? It's like 80 something.
Free a country is, there's probably a pretty good chance that it's bullshit.
Right.
And then just kind of pull it out of their ass,
Right. And if you really pay attention, all the capitalist countries are at the top, and anything socialist or anti imperial,
Not even that.
anti-
Anything that is anti-American, like they
Right.
just are at odds with the American
Sure.
like foreign policy in some case. Like they somehow always fail freedom class. You know,
Right. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
always being asked to stay after class by Mr. America. You know?
Right.
It's just not making any sense.
Right. They're just saying the thing that led to the Great Depression and the stock market crash, that's good and
Right.
free.
Right.
That was the freedom.
That's
and
the invisible hand.
right.
doing
The
what it
invisible
does.
hand just suffocated us.
Right.
They opposed Clinton's health care plan. They later would oppose Obamacare. There's a story in 2013 of this guy, Jason Richwine, who co-authored a controversial Heritage Foundation report on the cost of amnesty for migrants, who later resigned his position because he made some comments at an American Enterprise Institute, one of the groups that funded the Heritage Foundation, libertarian. Richwine argued in 2008 that Hispanics and blacks are intellectually inferior to whites and have trouble assimilating because of a supposed genetic predisposition to lower IQ. And so,
They love the IQ. They lean heavy on the IQ.
IQ
which
is huge.
Repeatedly disproven in the modern day.
Right. And a lot of the recent fervor around IQ comes from The Bell Curve, which is a book maybe we'll talk about. It's very long, and a lot of people have a lot smarter than me have put in their 2 cents. So we may not get to it. But essentially, it kind of argues that different people have different IQs, and it's a lot of our very high IQ people are moving away from the center of the country, going into our big cities, and kind of leaving everyone else behind. It's all. I want to make it clear that IQ has a lot of connections with eugenicists. When you hear IQ, it should be a red flag, in my opinion.
I mean, I'm still trying to get my Mensa application going.
Oh, me too.
I haven't heard back from them, which doesn't make any sense because I did score like 110 on my recent test.
I got a
Took me
13. Is that good?
Like 113?
No, like a 13.
Oh, okay. Is it like the lower?
It's like
the
golf.
score? Okay.
It's like golf.
Yeah.
So
Man, I must have did bad. Then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But we can hear people like Curtis Yarvin going like, "Oh, we want this techno-feudalism where the people in charge have high IQs." It can turn something that has a history of eugenicist thought and kind of turn it into, well, of course a black person could be one of those people because they have a high IQ.
They
It's like
spin meritocracy into a way where it's just like, this is a polite way of segmenting society. Where
Right.
you're inferior and I'm superior.
Right.
Yeah.
Rather than skin, we're going to base it off of IQ, but also underneath IQ.
But I'm just going to automatically assume how smart you are based off of your skin.
Right, right.
That's
Because-
essentially what it boils down to.
IQ, you can study for an IQ test, right?
Right.
And a lot of times
This guy clearly does not think that some people can, though.
No.
But he's like, you guys just can't do it at all.
Right.
Like, yeah.
well, if certain people have opportunities structurally in society to be better at something like an IQ test, those people might pop up more, right? Like, if IQ is not a singular way to define how smart somebody is. It is a specific way of finding patterns and, whatever it is, you can study for them. But that IQ test is based off of like Western educational systems.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone under those systems does not get the same opportunities to be good at an IQ test or whatever, it doesn't mean they're stupid. It just means they're not good at IQ tests.
Right.
So if you base everything off of that, it's going to be racist. It's like AI taking from a racist internet as their source of where they get information. And of course, it's going to be racist. It's not
And I
neutral.
guarantee you If I pulled up to the whitest town imaginable, I gave everybody like a history test or a math test or a science test, I guarantee you not one of them is going to pass with even a 70%.
I'll even bring it to this.
It's just
the test you got to take to become a citizen in this country, most Americans are not going to pass.
right.
The citizens and
If you've never seen this test, you should pull it up because it is fucking insane. Like they want you to remember like very, very minute details from what I recall. It's been a long time since I've pulled it up, but very minute details that like again are for the purpose of taking the test and not is actually not going to serve any purpose beyond that test, much like an IQ test.
Right.
It's very impractical outside of the test itself.
It is, yeah. In America also has a long history of like racist tests, like literacy tests in order to vote and stuff like that. As if literacy is like the single defining factor of who gets to decide what happens in this country. So when we see things about IQ in our modern day, we should be worried. Like, are they going to implement some sort of IQ test in order to vote? Right. Eventually. Maybe, probably not now. But these are things like I think some people in the background
would like to.
Yeah.
And also, side note, latest statistic I saw that I'm sure many people had already seen, 50% of all Americans, not a specific group, but all Americans across the board cannot read above a 6th grade level, and roughly a quarter of all Americans or something like that are just functionally illiterate. So I think that alone should just tell you it really has nothing to do with race or genetic markers or whatever like scientific bullshit that they're, trying to use to like, paint it in a nice palatable way. It's just it has a lot to do with our civic society and how we can organize our civic society, in particular Department of Education, which thankfully Project 2025 does have a plan for by putting Lindsay McMahon, the wife of WWE CEO Vince McMahon, in as head of education, which they're definitely just going to have her in for like a week or two to like sit at the desk and kind of do some spins around before just gutting the entire department. But,
oh yeah.
Anyway.
Yep.
Anyway.
That's all good stuff.
Loving it.
Yeah. I was just kind of thinking in a way we've talked about like social Darwinism. It's almost like a intellectual Darwinism that these people are looking for.
Right.
And almost kind of reaching back to, I think it's
but they keep calling it meritocracy.
Yeah.
They keep calling it meritocracy. It's not though.
I think it's Plato or Aristotle who talked about a bronze soul. Like you're born with different souls. Okay.
It was Plato.
You're born with a bronze soul. You're born with a silver soul. Like some people are just born lesser.
Right.
And some people are just born better. And, with my high IQ and, you're just not as good as me. It's this kind of way to, like you're saying, to be, it's just a new way in order to segment society in a way that will benefit them.
They're gussying it up. I mean, here's the thing. Plato, like, broke society into chunks where he was like, all right, everything should be ruled by the smartest person in that society. And so naturally, of course, that would obviously be me. That
weird.
Obviously, I don't make the rules.
I don't make the rules.
I'm just saying the smartest guy. I'm just saying the smartest guy in the Acropolis, should be ruling the society. And I just kind of came to the conclusion that was me. I mean,
what are you gonna do about it?
It's just the facts. The metric I'm using, it's not really relevant. But
facts don't care about your feelings.
Exactly.
So I think we should
moving on.
We should really put our telescope on some of those type of things when people are talking about IQ.
The magnifying glass.
telescope's
Telescope's
a little much. That's a little much.
You can't really see.
No.
Look all blurry.
But we've heard about, a little bit about birth rates through some of this stuff.
Yes.
We're starting to see some like real red flags in a lot of this. I mean, the open market libertarianist type
Yeah.
stuff, like
those are already red flags to me.
yeah.
When we start getting into birth rates and IQ, I start really looking for the door.
Right. So by Trump's first presidency, there were 66 Heritage Foundation employees into his administration and alum. Not employees at the time, but employees and alum that made it into Trump's administration. 66 people. So when he's going up there and saying, I don't know what Project 2025 is. Well, you hired a lot of these people.
Why?
You literally knew a lot of these people.
I think he meant that in the same way where he would have said, like, I don't really remember what I did when I woke up this morning. Like,
right.
It was all kind of in a haze. Like, he's like, that.
I remember the cook. I remember the cook, but I don't remember what he made. It's
right. I had breakfast, but I don't remember what it was. Certainly wasn't fruit. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, certainly was not. But yeah, so I mean, the Heritage Foundation has been very opposed to critical race theory.
The theory that human beings are not you can't categorize them by race, and race is more of a societal construct than it is genetic or have like anything to do with like really anything outside of just melanin levels of melanin in the skin.
But these people hear any sort of critique of how our history has worked and how our history has created the society that we live in, and that scares a lot of them because the people who are, it's critical race theory. We're being critical of the theory of race. Right. Right.
I think it's really telling when they get incredibly angry because they immediately are like, why are they trying to make me feel guilty? And it's like, they're not even really trying to do that. They're just saying what happened.
You're telling on yourself.
Yeah. You were quite literate. But again, the way that those are often, put forth into like a right-wing, like, audience, especially in media, it's always poised in a way, it's always framed in a way where you don't think like, oh, they're just like, telling it like it is. They're speaking the facts. They're going into like, how it's not genetic. Nothing to do with that. How it's always framed is like, look at how they're making you feel guilty for being white. Right. Isn't that crazy? They want your white daughter to feel like a horrible human being because she's white. Doesn't that just make you so fucking mad? And it's like that.
No,
but the thing is, they continue to they try. Yeah, well, first off, it shouldn't. But also, it's like it's willful ignorance. Yeah. They do not want to really confront or even acknowledge any facts because that's not really their game. Their game is to try and like swindle you and make you again react on impulse.
It's fear. I mean, at the core of my kind of thing with when we talk about hate speech, right? A lot of it is very hateful, but at the core of all of it, I think, is fear. I think it drives almost everything that is reactionary, is being fearful of something, not understanding it, not looking to understand it, and just reacting to that initial fear. And that's what they're trying to stoke when they're like, they are trying to make you feel bad. Don't look into it. Don't read this stuff. This stuff is worse than, the satanic Bible. Like, this shit is terrible. It's what they said about communism. It's what they said about all, anti-imperialist literature. Like, they always say this, where it's like they are doing this to make you feel bad, but don't read it because it's gonna turn you. Like, don't put your eyes on it. Don't look at it.
Right.
So
just trust me, bro.
Yeah. So they've been opposed to critical race theory, Black Lives Matter. Heritage Foundation senior fellow Mike Gonzalez released a book, BLM, Black Lives Matter, The New Making of a Marxist Revolution, which characterizes Black Lives Matter as a nationwide insurgency and labels its leaders avowed Marxists who say they want to dismantle our way of life.
I wish, dude.
Which,
Jesus.
again, as a socialist, I wish that would have been a great.
2020 would have been awesome.
Yeah,
Are you kidding
that would have
me?
been a great vanguard party, right? I mean, whatever. So they are, they've been opposed to the scientific consensus on climate change. They are funded by ExxonMobil. It's not a coincidence. They're
think it
opposed to LGBTQ plus rights. They have been opposed to, the rights of women and their ability to get abortions.
Or just autonomy in general.
Or just general autonomy.
There's a lot of people within this movement that, like your Steven Crowder type folk, where they're angry that women can divorce the man that they're married to or something like that. They're like, I don't think they should get a say in that. I just think particularly of Steven Crowder, where he, got onto YouTube and he was just like, I just think it's wrong that we live in a society where, my wife can just leave me and I get no input or get no say in that. And it's like, yeah, dude, no, I don't think that. Whatever. To each their
Hashtag
own.
can't relate.
Yeah.
I mean, they claim to, I think they get a lot of people to fall into, just the idea that they are for freedom. Like, they're not,
Right.
as we'll see in our next episode, when we start talking a little bit more about specific passages from Project 2025, specifically the Conservative Promise, which appears early on in the document. A lot of it is contradictory to itself. It really doesn't make any sense. I mean, how can you be saying you're for freedom while you're also trying to ban speech that would allow, diversity or equity?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these things don't add up. So it's very frustrating because they don't want to stick up for, the trans person who, has trouble finding work or is, being abused or being sexually abused. They want to turn the script and be like, no, those are the ones who are, sexually abusing your kids. And it's like, no, like
Right.
you are
There's
taking
no
a victim
factual-
of our culture and system and turning them into a perpetrator.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just disgusting. It's gross.
The willful ignorance.
Yeah.
Just blindly ignoring what the facts are and in fact taking them and spinning them in a way that, again, it's all about the framing. It has nothing to do with because I think that's one of the pitfalls of the Democratic Party and the Democratic strategy in general is that I feel like liberals are they're very hyper focused. They're vigilant about the facts. And how everything's got to be backed up by these statistics. And it's like, they do a lot of finger waving and being like, oh, you silly conservatives, you're just not always right in the claims that you make. Don't you just feel so silly for saying all those silly things that you always do? Because you're always so wrong. It's like, they don't care.
Right.
They don't fucking care.
People don't care if
They
you're right.
don't care that you are right and they are wrong. They don't care. They want their base to just get riled up. That's all they fucking care about. They will say the most outlandish shit to get a reaction. They don't care. They never cared. And I think increasingly, nobody in American, like broad American society gives a fuck about facts anymore. Like, they don't. They don't.
If they did, they would be a materialist.
Exactly.
My opinion.
Exactly.
But-
They'd be a Marxist-Leninist. No,
Right.
yeah, if they didn't, if they just care about the reaction, they're going to be one of these populist folks. They're going to be one of these right-wingers. Like, they don't give a fuck. And the Democrats still are like, God, don't you just really care about how wrong you are? And it's like, no, they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. I've ran into that many times of trying to give the facts to people who just don't care about the facts.
Yeah.
They don't. I want to sum up this little section about Heritage Foundation's background with just this one, instance in May of 2021 where Heritage Action spent $750,000 on television ads in Arizona to promote the false claim that Democrats want to register illegal aliens to vote, even though the Democrats' legislation creates safeguards to ensure that ineligible people cannot register. And, increasingly they were involved in the whole Stop the Steal conspiracy, and, trying to amend voting laws in places like Georgia to restrict voting access for mostly people of color. These are people who are definitely not for democracy. These are people who are actively trying to go against reality and are trying to fund the anti-reality, the negation of reality in order to get their candidate to win.
Right.
And it worked. I mean, Stop the Steal worked.
In a sense.
It worked.
It didn't. I don't think it worked in the short term that they were looking for, but it definitely, I think, with a Trump re-election, definitely worked to a great extent.
Because I still know people who claim that the election was stolen. Like, I've still heard that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's still a very widely held belief, which again is not based on any facts, much to the dismay of any liberal. Yeah, it's not based on any facts. They don't care.
They don't.
They never will care. They will only care when it benefits them. That's what's important. They don't give a fuck about any of the facts until it makes them look good. And if it doesn't, they're going to try and take that and spin it. It's all about framing. Yeah. Every little bit. It's manufacturing consent or inventing reality.
Whoa.
If one were to
heard
go
of it?
there. Yeah, heard of them?
I think now's a good time to just wrap up this episode because, we've talked a bit about what Project 2025 is broadly, Heritage Foundation. I think, what are some takeaways you want people to go away with until we see them next time?
I think you should all start panicking, but buy as much reserve food and water as possible. Start looking into getting like a fallout shelter installed in your backyard. If you don't have a backyard, I would start, maybe thinking about squatting in like a nearby bunker of some kind, look up your state's squatting rights. No, in reality,
if by local bunker do you mean my best friend's shed in the backyard?
Yeah, or your buddy named Bunker. Anything like that could certainly help. But no, in reality, I think what's really important again is just this. This has been the strategy, and this Project 2025. It is like when Trump comes in. We're not going to just immediately enter Nazi Germany or some shit like that.
Well, people, I feel like people think once a fascist dictator comes in, the sky turns dark.
Right.
It starts storming. There's rain. It
looks like a Hollywood movie.
Right.
No, it's just going to look like tomorry, buddy.
Everything turns black and white like an old movie.
It's going to look, in many ways, it's already here. We've already kind of been here for in many, many different respects. I guess this is more just kind of it firmly placing itself in a fixed point in society. But this has always been the goal. This has always been what they've been working for. And I think what Project 2025 lays out are the next steps moving forward, both with policy and with philosophy and just what the rank and file foot soldiers of the populist right-wing movement ought to be, working towards, what the capitalists and the people actually funding these groups, these hedge funds, these super PACs and the like. I think, and I think again, this is going to be a long 4 years, a very long 4 years. We always say that. It's always been said, it's going to be a long 4 years, no matter who's coming in.
Yeah.
But this will be a very long 4 years. So
this will be a doozy.
I guess all I can say is, look in, if it's something that you're really worried about yourself, start getting involved. Start organizing with, local leftists or socialists, start in your area, start learning, there's tons of reading lists out there. Try and educate yourself. Try and educate the people that you know. And especially, please, for the love of fucking God, convince you and everyone you know to just stop with the Democratic Party, because they're a fucking dead end. Like, full stop. They're a dead end.
Yeah.
I think well, I'd say about 12 years. About the last 12 years, they have proved that they're like, they're not doing anything for us. They're just going to be there. They're going to be there to wave their finger and just look at you like, no, you shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, educate yourself, brace yourself. I guess I could say,
Yeah.
don't freak out, or don't like. I mean, if you want to buy a gun, buy a gun. It's the Second Amendment while it's still there. I guess
Right.
might as well. But there's I don't know. There's a lot to go into.
Yeah, and if you're someone who has some sort of privilege in the society, or some sort of, if you are a white man or something, you might, at a protest, put yourself in front of people who might be more at risk of being attacked, or find ways to protect each other, and find ways to push back on a lot of these people. Like you said,
Educate, agitate,
and
organize.
And on that note,
yeah,
we're going to wrap it up. Next time we see you, we'll be talking about the Conservative Promise, which opens up Project 2025.
My name's Tom.
And my name is also Tom.
And this has been Don't Be a Sucker.
Suckers.
Suckers.